Hey, it's John from DadBuilt DIY, and I'm back for part 2 of my DIY kid closet project. In this part, I'm going to show you the process of cutting my materials and installing the closet. If you're starting from the beginning, go ahead and check out part 1 of this project. In that part, I covered a lot of the design and prep work. I'm excited about part 2 and being one step closer to going from builder grade to custom made. Let's get to it. Let's move on to cutting our supports and shelves. I recommend making a cut list that will detail all the cuts you need to make. This requires more planning beforehand, but it will make this step go a lot faster. First, I detail out all the rips and cross cuts that I need to make. To build this closet, I'll need about 1.5 pieces of 4x8 MDF. Next, I'll cut all of my shelf supports, fascia, and closet rods. For that, I'll need 8 1x2x8s, 3 1x3x8s, and 2 94-inch oval clothes bars. I've got it all planned out. Let's get started cutting. I'm going to start by ripping these 4x8 sheets of MDF into 12-inch boards. The design I'm using calls for 12-inch deep closets, so all of the MDF for the shelves and vertical supports can be cut from these boards. The shelf supports in the fascia board will be 1x2 and 1x3s, which are all quick cuts. So I'll tackle all of the circular saw work first before moving everything over to the miter saw. Okay, now we have all the MDF sheets cut into 12-inch strips, and we can go ahead and start trimming them to length with the miter saw. Next up, installation. It's time to start installing the closet pieces that I cut earlier. Next, we're going to install the right side, bottom, back support. Now I need to install the top side supports, and I need this to sit 3/4 of an inch above that bottom support piece. So I'm using a spare piece of MDF to rest this on, so I know that I'll have the exact distance I need. I used a laser level to ensure that the top supports are perfectly even. I line my vertical support up against the shelf supports on the wall, and I use a level to make sure that it's plumb. Now I have baseboard that creates a gap between the vertical support and the wall. So I'm going to mark that baseboard on each side of the vertical support, and I'm going to notch that piece out. Notching out the trim allows me to slide that vertical shelf support in tight up against the wall. Then I can secure it to the top and bottom shelf supports. We're going to slide our shelf into its slot. I check the level of each shelf after fitting it onto the supports, and once it looks good, I can move on to installing the top shelf. So this top piece is a little tricky. If you recall, the closet is 82.5 inches wide. I cut this board at just 1/4 inch shy of that. That's going to give us 1/8 of an inch on each side of wiggle room. So hopefully that's enough for us to get it up in there. And then once we install that fascia board on the front, it's going to cover that gap and you'll never see it. So now we need to put the shelf supports on the back wall for that center storage stack. And if you notice, I didn't mark the heights of those supports on the wall because there's a faster and easier way to do it. I cut 2 spacer pieces the exact distance between the shelf supports, and we're going to use those to quickly and easily get these supports up and at the right distance from each other. Now I can put the side supports on. I just line them up against the back, put a level on there, and then tack them up with 1 1/4" brads. I repeat this process all the way down both sides of the center stack, and then I'm ready to install my shelves. All my supports and shelves are now in place, and next I can focus on installing the fascia boards to give the closet a trimmed look. So let's install the fascia. I'm really excited about this step. Other than painting and finishing, putting this on is going to do the most for transforming the look and feel of the closet into a finished product. The process for installing the fascia is pretty straightforward. I'll start by attaching my 1x3 pieces to the top and the 2 vertical sides of the center shelf stack. I mark the center line of my 1x3s to help get a straight alignment to the vertical supports behind. I'm also going to use a level to make sure that these vertical pieces stay plumb all the way down. Most of the materials for this project I cut in advance, but when it comes to the fascia board, there were a few pieces that I didn't cut beforehand, and others that I cut, but I intentionally left them a little bit long. The reason for this is that I want to have the tightest fit possible. So I'm going to dry fit everything before I install it, and many of those long pieces I'm going to have to go back and shave off like 1/8 of an inch or so. But I found that this gives me the best results. With the fascia board installed, you really start to get a sense for the finished look and feel of the closet. It's going to look really good. And that wraps up cutting my materials and installing the closet structure. Coming up in the final part, I'm going to transform this entire space into the finished result. Check out these other videos from DadBuilt DIY, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for this and other projects, as well as handy tips for DIY dads. Thanks for watching.